Hi, my name's Darren, welcome to my workshop and Merry Christmas. One of the great things about Christmas is it gives me an excuse to buy things that I might want rather than need, which is what I've just done. Always wanted a power file. Now I don't think I'm going to get a lot of use out of it, just occasional, and I've got certainly plenty of manual files, but I bought myself a little Ryobi power file. So let's have a look at it and see what it can do. The Ryobi R18PF-0 uses an 18 volt Ryobi 1 Plus battery, has a no load speed from 260 to 630, I assume that's meters per minute, sanding area of 13 by 120 millimeters. This is the sanding belts are 13 by 457 millimeters, but of course that's looped over, and the weight of the unit is 1.02 kilograms. Nice and light, easy to hold. In the box you get the unit itself and 3 sanding belts, one each of 60, 80 and 120 grit. So as far as files go, that's fairly coarse. The unit itself is fairly straightforward, there's not much to it. We've got the motor housing here that sticks out the side, which has got these grips on it for holding it. A speed control on the top, so you can operate that with your thumb while you're holding it. If we flip it underneath, you can see we've got the trigger for turning the unit on and off, and a lock to hold it in place. I guess if you're doing a lot of sanding for a long period of time, that would get fatiguing. So that's a little lock to avoid fatigue. Further up on the unit, we've got this little release latch, and what that does is that pulls this section of the drive shaft back in towards the end, or motor, I nearly called it an engine, back in towards the motor to allow you to put a belt on. You might be able to see it move if I push this back out now. See, it moves out and in. This knob in front adjusts the tilt of this unit to adjust the tracking of the belt. So if I bring that right up there, you can see there's a little gap. Inside that gap there is a spring. The spring's just here, and then the screw goes through here. So what we can do is we adjust out and it springs open, tilting it outwards, making the belt run more to one side or the other. And of course we can bring it back the other way. That will make more sense with a belt on it, but with a belt on it it'd be harder to see in here. So there you go, that's all the other way. I also bought myself a couple of extra little containers, or a couple of extra little packets of sanding belt of a different brand, and it's the only other brand they actually sell in Bunnings, where I bought this whole lot. So I was just going to try those as well. I've got a 40 grit and some more 120s. So I thought if we're going to go coarse, let's go super coarse. So let's make sure these fit as well. They're supposed to. So here we go. We've got the this is a 40 grit Flexo bit. Tuck that end in, and there we go, put it around the wheel there like that and flick it back. Okay, so we're going to grab a battery, stick a battery on it. Pretty sure 5 amp hours is going to be overkill for this fella, but anyway, let's give it a go. It's adjusting, running fairly true. Doesn't need much adjustment. Let's see if we can track it a little bit better. So let's over adjust the tracking and see what happens. Whoa! And that the other way. Yeah, okay. So actually it tracks pretty well. You don't have to be overly precise by the look, but that's about where we want it to track anyway. Let's try slowing it down a bit. Let's put this into some use and see what we can do with it. Let's see, different things I would normally do with a file would be sharpen tools, shape wood, remove excess wood when doing things, and sometimes flatten an edge. I mean, I can't use a plane like on plywood. Let's have a go at doing those things. Got my benchtop vise stuck in my other vise here, ready to do a bit of grinding. I'm going to see if I can sharpen up the edge of this hatchet. It's not too far from sharp, and I'm going to change out to a 120 grit belt, because I think this 40 grit's just going to be far too coarse. Okay, so we take out the old belt. Easy enough. Pop in a new one. Check the tracking, I guess. Seems to be tracking well. Alrighty, let's have a go of sharpening the edge of a hatchet. See how that does. Interestingly enough, the edge doesn't seem to be getting very hot, which is good. Although I would suggest that this would be too coarse for doing your kitchen knives. So I wouldn't use this unless you can find a much finer belt than 120. I wouldn't use this on your kitchen knives at all. Alright, well, it seems to have worked. Oh yeah, that's worked nicely. But proof of the pudding, I guess. Let me find a piece of scrap wood. Alright, let's see if this blade is sharp enough. I'll just pop it in here so it doesn't bounce around. Let's see if this is sharp then. Oh yeah, yeah, that worked. Okay, that'll do. Alright, seeing we've got a scrap of wood, let's try rounding a corner over with it. And this time we can start out with a coarser grit than 120. What do we have here? This is the 40 overkill, but let's give that a try. Okay, tracking properly. Don't seem to need to adjust the tracking once it's going. That's a good thing. It's considerably faster than using a normal file. Slightly different technique needed, as you can see. Certainly wouldn't normally file like this, but then I am using 40 grit, which takes wood off extremely quickly. But that is a nice round over that. Okay, let's see if we can get it up to a nice smooth surface, because that's something you would do, well, with sandpaper anyway. Let's see what we can get. So we'll, what's this one? 80. Let's go to 80 grit, and then we'll finish off with the 120 and see what sort of finish we get. Done with the 80 already. 120. There is a direction to use these on, and there's some arrows printed there. And if you have a look on the end of the unit, on the end of the file, there's also an arrow there. So the idea is to get the two arrows pointing the same way. Well, yeah, I'm impressed with that. That's done a lovely finish. That's better than I would get off a file. Mind you, I suppose I've effectively used 3 files there. That's really good. Alright, now let's try using it to cut out a section of wood. That's something else I might do. Again, we're going to go back to a coarse grit for this. We're going to go with not the 60. Where's the 40? We'll see how, yeah, there we go, this is the 40. There's no arrows on this one, so you can put this one either way. Oh! This is this packet that I just opened while filming, and you can see it coming apart just here. I hope it doesn't come apart completely. Hopefully that tape inside will hold. Alright, let's try just removing a bit of material. We're certainly doing that fairly quickly. What I'm attempting to do here is flatten out these ridges as if you were doing that sort of thing with a file to try and get it all flat. So actually let's do it the same way and see if we can. Yeah, this thing's great for shaping wood. It really is. Whether you want a curved or a relatively flat section, I mean, we can get it flatter by doing this, but only for a certain length. But this is a really great little tool. Changing the belts is quick and easy, and the variable speed, the speeds seem to be well thought out. It doesn't go super fast, but it seems to go fast enough, and certainly it goes nice and slow for finer work. It does a great job of sharpening things in a coarser fashion, so good for sharpening things like garden tools and stuff like that. And it's great for shaping wood, I think. If anybody was doing a little bit of carving, they could use this for it. And you could obviously take rust off things, you know, you can get into the slots of a gate and take the paint off, that sort of thing. So it'd be a very versatile tool. Cons? Well, there's no dust extraction, which would be lovely to have, but I don't think it's appropriate in a tool like this anyway. I think you'd lose the manoeuvrability of it unless, of course, the dust extraction came out the back. So that would make it a very different shaped tool and probably not ideal. So I don't know if I can really count that as a con. It would be nice if there were a wider range of grits available for the belts. If there were finer ones, say all the way up to, all the way up to a fine linishing belt or a strop even, so you could use this for sharpening. But certainly up to 600 grit would be very useful. It'd be nice to be able to sharpen your tools up to 600 grit. You could use it then on your kitchen knives. Again, perhaps you'd want to go to a higher grit than 600 on a nice kitchen knife, and perhaps this might be a little bit aggressive. But it seemed to do a nice job on the Hatchet. So overall, what's my advice? If you've been thinking about getting one, well, it's Christmas, treat yourself, get one. Who would use it? Pretty much anybody that does things around the workshop. I mean, you could sharpen all sorts of rough tools with it, all sorts of garden tools with it. You can use it for shaping wood, obviously, removing rust, getting into places you wouldn't normally even get a regular file in some cases. So yeah, it's a very versatile tool, I think, and I'm going to find a lot more uses for it, and I think you might too. Okay, so thank you very much for watching. Hopefully it's been of some use. Have a great day, and I'll catch you in the next video. Bye bye.